Good afternoon, everyone. How you going? Give it a minute or so for notifications to come online, and we'll have a bit of a chat. Seeing as Keith Pitt suddenly re-emerged on his Facebook page, and I want to have a bit of a chat about something, because him and so hi everyone, how you going? I can see you all popping up there. So let's start. So yesterday, Keith Pitt posted to his Facebook page a little tiny snippet from State Parliament, where a Labor member was addressing a statement regarding the cashless debit card, and the snippet is well out of context. I don't know what the context is about, because he only shows this little bit snippet where she says that she withdraws a statement and didn't mean to mislead the House in regards to saying that the government's going to force all age pensioners onto the cashless debit card. Okay, so they haven't actually come out and said it. I mean, they're not going to do that, are they? Their voter base here is Nationals and LNP, and a hell of a lot of self-funded retirees and, you know, Nationals, oldies that vote LNP National because they just do. So they don't want to upset their voter base up here at all. But Keith Pitt needs to remember, we read legislation. I'm not going to post to his page because he has a habit of blocking anybody who puts up a dissenting or a even facts. He just blocked. At one stage there, in the first year of the Hinkler trial, we made a page called Blocked by Keith Pitt and Other LNP One Nation People, because it got ridiculous. In fact, it made the media. Fraser Coast Chronicle actually did an article about the amount of blocking that his page did in regards to anything that Keith Pitt put up about the cashless debit card. Anybody went in there with facts and stuff like that, or said anything against it, he blocked them all. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, block, turbo block, yep, absolutely. So I don't even bother wasting my time on his page in little drivel. All he's put on it is Labor caught out over cashless debit card claim. Well, I don't see how Labor could be caught out over this, because the legislation is in black and white. It's in black and white, right? The only thing that stops it from being rolled out to every age pensioner at this moment is a legislative instrument, which the minister can do all by herself, a stroke of a pen. That's all it is, a promise. They're hanging on a promise that they won't do it to all age pensioners. But the fact that they've started doing it to Aboriginal age pensioners, and then they try to erase that little, you know, they don't exist. We don't speak about them up there in Cape York, right? While we're pushing we won't put age pensioners on the cashless debit card. There are no age pensioners on the cashless debit card. Yet we know for a fact, right, from questions on notice from Nita Green, that, and we've got the proof in black and white, and we've posted it here on the pages, that there are 26 age pensioners that were mandated. You know, they didn't get the choice. They didn't get the choice. Referred and mandated onto the cashless debit card, and 9 volunteers in the Cape York region, or some outside the region as well. Okay, but yeah, it's funny, isn't it? So the legislation is quite clear, right? Because I had someone in another page go, oh, they have to pass an Act of Parliament. Well, they did do that on the 9th of December 2020. And it comes down to this. In relation to program participate under section 124 PGD or 124 PGE means a payment of kind listed in paragraph A, or an age pension under, oh, it comes in as number 2 in brackets. That's for the mandatory program, an age pension. Now, not only that, when it comes down to the trigger, you know, the trigger payments, the age pension comes in under restrictable payments, which can be quarantined up to 100%. Okay, so what restrictable payments are a little bit different to trigger payments. Trigger payments in the Cape York are 50-50 because they're still on the same as their basics card restrictions, and the same with Northern Territory at this time. I always say at this time because everything's subject to change. Now, Keith Pitt seems to forget. He likes to tell porcupines himself. Big ones, big whoppers. Like, you know, when he pushed and pushed and pushed for the cashless debit card to come into the Hinkler region, it's only going to be a 1-year trial. It's only going to be 1 year, you know. Yeah, 3 years down the track, people are still stuck on the cashless debit card. So much for Keith Pitt. You know, he's waving the flag of I'm an honest politician here, but he forgets that he lied to the people of Hinkler, right? And he just... Yeah, the only reason why Hinkler isn't like the other sites is for political purposes, because he would have lost his seat at the last election. That's the bottom line. Because when we started our campaign in 2017 on the ground, on the side of the road, under the pavilion at Bundaberg, right, we had a lot of people on disability support pension and a lot of people over the age of 40 joining us at those protests. Because at that time, the age cap hadn't been discussed. And all we knew of the program was from Ceduna and East Kimberley, right, and Kalgoorlie, where everybody was put on every payment, ages 17 to 67. And that's all we had to go on, was the terms and conditions from Ceduna, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. We had that information to go on for the previous 3 years that the card had been operating. But, yeah, and the rubbish that was put out in the media to justify this. The attack on our school breakfast club, I mean, that was disgusting, that was. All right, the attack on people. And I won't forget the day that I confronted Pitt, and he's a tall man. I didn't realise how big he was. I actually suffer from PTSD. And I got out of my car and I spotted him and I had a PTSD attack. I hadn't had one of those in years. Years and years and years. And I stood there and I thought, oh my God, I can't be doing this now. I've got the old purple no cashless debit card t-shirt on. And I'm having a bloody panic attack. Right? This man gave me a panic attack. I'm human. All right? So I have frailties too. I'm thinking, I can't stand here like a klutz. What am I going to do? And I spotted the other guys that had come down, Jody and a couple of the others, and James and that at the park. So I just beelined for them. I blocked seeing Pitt, and then I went back. And we stood in this half circle, and it got to my turn to speak, and it was like the whole world went dead quiet. And there's this man that's 7 foot tall in front of me. I don't know how tall he is, but he's a big bloke. And I just tore strips off of him. I said to him, how dare you do this to your own community? He didn't give stuff. In fact, straight away, he was, oh, it wasn't me. And it's like this was his baby. He pushed it into the Hinkler region. He wanted it. It was his baby. He goes, it's a government program. Nothing to do with me, blah, blah, blah. He tried to deflect. And here I am, 5'2", standing there tearing strips off of him in the park for what he's done to this community. All right, because he won't have a bar of anybody saying anything bad against the cashless debit card, and he won't listen to card holders, and he won't help them. All right, when they've gone to his office with issues, he's directed them to centrelink or ring the hotline number. We don't deal with that. Yet he brought this into his community, and now his community is the most disadvantaged in the country, with the highest homeless rate and the highest youth suicide rate, and a lot of very, very depressed people, and a lot of medications, right? A lot of families suffering as a result. But he couldn't give a damn, because he made it very clear, and he used the media to do it as well, to let everybody know in the Hinkler region that if you're on a social security payment, you don't count in this community. He's not interested in helping you. He's not representing you in Parliament. He's not there for you. If you're in that demographic of being a constituent in his electorate, he does not represent you. He will not represent you. And he made that very clear, that you are ignored. One of the things that the federal government removed as soon as the cashless debit card was about to roll in was on the 1st of January 2020, they removed the emergency funding for people to get assistance with rents to stop them from becoming homeless, right? Knowing full well that in the previous 4 years of the program, that many people have been left homeless because of the late rent payments. They knew what was coming. So they took away the funding. You know what I mean? And, yeah. Once I composed myself that day, I just tore him to pieces. Because, yeah, and today here he is, or yesterday he posted, carrying on about Labor caught out over cashless debit card claim. But the thing is, the evidence is in black and white. It's only a legislative instrument and a signature. They're only hanging on to a promise. And they've already proven they can't be trusted with their promises. Go look at the Seduna community. They were promised it was only going to be a 1-year trial. A 1-year trial. And it was only going to be for those on their New Start. And it was only going to be targeted to those that had alcohol problems. Right? We're looking 6 years down the track now. Seduna's still on the card. 1/3 of their population moved out. 12% of their population didn't activate their cards. When we worked that out in figures back then, there was 84 people. But the department couldn't even tell us where those 84 people went. They didn't come off Centrelink. They haven't activated their cards. Their money's in the bank. They just, poof, disappeared. Where did they go? The department's never going to tell us. It doesn't matter how many Freedom of Information Acts, you know, we try and put in to find out how many people have actually passed since being on the cashless debit card. They're not going to give us that information, right? But the lie still stands, and this is it. The lie still stands. It's a 1-year trial. We've got to try something. It's not a silver bullet, you know, and all this other rubbish. East Kimberley, it's a 1-year trial. Yeah, it's a 1-year trial that's 6 years down the track that tore communities apart and has ended up with total devastation in that community. Again, very high youth suicide, right, because of predatory behaviour of a lot of people who have taken advantage of a lot of people and a lot of children of the parents on the cashless debit card. Okay? Yeah. If I remember correctly, Wilson also promised a 1-year trial for Kalgoorlie. Yeah, we can't believe their lies, can we? Because, you know, they're so righteous here. You know, they're trying to call out a state Labor member, and the member for Keppel's stunning admission in state parliament recently that she misled the House about the cashless debit card shows Labor can't be trusted. Well, Keith Pitt, you can't be trusted at all, mate. Right? You know, you can't. Dear, oh dear. Oh, he goes, I've lost count how many times I've told people that age pensioners will not be put on a cashless debit card. It's simply not true. According to your own department, you have 26 of them on the cashless debit card right now and 9 volunteers right now. But no, don't include those people. They're Aboriginal. Shh. We mustn't. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm sick of the racism. Right? What? I had this from a very staunch LNP person who still calls them the Country Liberal Party, by the way, this old bloke. Right? And he turned around and said, oh, but that's them up there. I said, I beg your pardon? They don't count. I beg your pardon? Yeah, okay, they do count. They're on the age pension. They're age pensioners. They're on the cashless debit card. End of. Doesn't matter what colour their skin is. They're on the cashless debit card. 26 of them have been forced on it. Period. All right? 9 of them have volunteered. And I'd love to know, was it... you know, how can you ask people to volunteer for something without informed consent? And what I mean by that is, there's no way in hell that they would have explained these terms and conditions to these people, right? All 84 or whatever it is, 90-odd pages of it now, because there's more since it's been extended. I cannot understand, I cannot imagine anybody sitting down with a person and going through this and actually reading it and explaining the removal of the consumer rights, all right, the protections that Indu has, and the removal of your legal protections for your Protections of Payments Act, and the removal of your privacy. I mean, even if you explained all that to somebody and then you said, here, sign on the dotted line, they'd tell you to go hell. That's what I'd tell them to do. Stick it up the bum. I'm not signing away my rights. You know what I mean? You know, yeah, the coalition government has not and does not and will not have a policy of placing age pensions on. Okay. You voted on it, you deal. You already voted it through, mate. Keith Pitt voted it through in the House of Reps. And while we're at it, we'll just remind people that Craig Kelly also voted it through in the House of Reps. You know? So then he goes on to all Labor MPs who have knowingly misled Parliament about the cashless debit card should withdraw their statements. Rosie, the only way you can get one of these is if you can get it off of a card holder. Right? But you can look up the Indu terms and conditions online. And if I can find it for you, I will put it in the link after this video. Okay? And then you can have a read. But, so it gets interesting because he tagged Michelle Laundrie, Stephen Bennett, and he tagged Senator Ann Ruston in his post. Now, Stephen Bennett is the state member for Burnett. And I had an interesting phone call with him when we were fighting to stop this cashless debit card coming in. And he was saying to me how the only reason why he was supporting it was because it was going to bring millions of dollars into Bundaberg in investment. Really. And he goes, oh, and not only that, not just for the first 12 months, it was going to be millions every year that the card was in. And that was the reason what he gave me for supporting removing Australians' rights and selling them off to a private company, was because businesses in Bundaberg were going to make millions out of this. Now, we heard this kind of thing before, right? Ceduna and the pork barrelling that went into Ceduna, and how certain businesses that hadn't qualified for government grants in the past all of a sudden not only got what he wanted, but he got more. And there was so much money pumped into Ceduna for certain selected businesses. You know, I won't forget ever, Alan Tudge sealed the deal with a bottle of Grange. You know? Oh, dear. You know, so, but then Michelle Laundrie jumps in. Good on you, Keith, for calling out the disgusting behaviour for the member of Keppel and Labor Party. You realise the card can't be used at Great Keppel. Everywhere up there's banned. You know, because, you know, you can't have the Great Unwashed going for holidays at Great Keppel, can you? Oh, dear. Oh, they have put some money into places like Impact. Now, Impact is a job agency. It gets paid to find people jobs. But so far, they've had quite a bit of money through this cashless debit card program. So last year they got another $500,000 for employment programs to help cashless debit card holders get off welfare and into a job. Well, hang on, isn't Impact a job agency? They're already being paid to do that in the first place. So then they got another $526,000 to do it again. And then this year we see that they get a slice of the $30 million job funding for cashless debit card regions, and being one of the bigger regions, right, between, I haven't seen any of that funding going into Ceduna. I've seen it advertised through the media for Kalgoorlie, they're getting some, and Hinkler's getting some, so they're going to get several $1 million out of that $30 million. They're getting paid a third time to do their job as a job provider, right? Good scam if you can get it, isn't it? Seriously. So Keith Pitt's just crapping on because he lied to the people up here. He's been caught out several dozen times. There's so many times we've rebutted him in the public, all right? And, you know, and I've rebutted it, everything. And, like, normally when there's a cashless debit card story coming up, Channel 7 are on my doorstep to get my opinion as well. You know, and what have I got to say about it? And the last time I did do one with them, I think, was over the extra funding that was going into Impact again. And I was questioning where this extra money was going to go and what it was actually going to be used for. Because Impact's a job agency. They're already getting paid by the federal government to be a job agency. But so far, I've seen them getting paid 3 times over. Do you know what I mean? That's stupid. You know? So, yeah, Keith Pitt needs to learn to... It shows they don't read the legislation. It's almost like they sit in the cabinet room and here's the script and you will not deviate from the script. Don't look at the legislation, right? Just tick your box and vote for it. Don't read it. Don't understand what you're voting about. And just follow the script. That's all they do, is follow the script. You know, Keith Pitt, you know, I'm sorry. Yeah. Don't you have COVID at the moment? Aren't you hiding because you're supposed to be in the Northern Territory signing off on fracking deals so you can destroy the Northern Territory's fresh water and land? You know, that's where he's supposed to be this week. But apparently he's got COVID. Now today he's on, you know, he's been on his Facebook page jumping up and down about Cashless debit card. So, yeah. What a shame, eh? But anyway, but he doesn't do anything for poor people in his community. And he doesn't come out very often. He'll come out at election time and do his meet and greets at all the different parks. And he'll ignore anybody who comes up against him. And he'll have some waffle bullshit to say because that's what he does. Right? But I lived in the Hinkler electorate for 8 years. I never saw anything from him or Ted Sorensen. And the one time that I did need help in regarding patient transport assistance for medical services, I got thrown out of the office in Hervey Bay anyway because apparently I wasn't part of Team Australia because I'm on a disability support pension and we don't count. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was rather horrid. I never went back again. Never, because I learned very quickly LNP don't help poor people. No. You know, so dear, oh dear, oh dear. So that's what I just thought I'd have a say about after this government won't last. Seeing the devastation throughout this from Bundaberg all the way down the coast and the lacklustre efforts of the government in assisting people in catastrophic, critical life-death situations. They don't deserve to be in government at all. They're not helping people. They don't want to help people. They want to help their mates. That's all they're there for. And sign off all the fracking and the coal and the wrecking of our environment. Simple as that. That's all they're worried about is their mates, their contracts, corporations and money. And, yeah, and they don't... I've never seen an LNP government actually put forward a program that is progressive and helps people without stigma, shame, or without jumping through hoops or clauses or, you know. But anyway, I just thought I'd let people know he's out there spouting his stuff. I don't know the context of this speech that this particular minister is Brittany Lager, ALP. She's the state member, assistant minister for education. And she made a private member's statement. I'm not sure when it was. It's a little tiny snippet recorded on a screencapture.com, okay? So it's just a little bit of a snippet of a speech that she was making. And, of course, they've seized on that to try and do anything to discredit Labor. But I've never seen any of their members vote against the cashless debit card. I have seen Labor vote consistently against the cashless debit card since 2017. Simple as that. Actions speak louder than words, in my opinion. And when you're consistently voting to stop the card, then we know where you stand. When you're voting for the card and then trying to poke at Labor, all right, well, what can I say? But he thinks he's done a brilliant post. He thinks he's good, you know. big noting it, blah, blah, blah. They can't get away from the black and white of the legislation. Right? Simple as that. It's there in black and white, and they can't get around it. Yes, things changed when I gave Bill Shorten the T's and C's, but that wasn't just me, but yep, it was us. It was all of the people on this page. It was me. It was all the people around me at the time, the volunteers that came with me. It was people like Amanda. It was academics. It was people behind the scenes that were able to give Bill all of the information so that Labor could make a proper decision. Because same as like Jackie, they hadn't been given the information, right? When I met Jackie Lambie, I took one of these books to her, and she's all eyes on it. Do you know what I mean? And she hadn't seen it because LNP didn't give the opposition. I wouldn't be surprised if Pauline Hanson never even seen one either. Not that she'd read it, or even if she did, she probably couldn't understand it. Yeah, so, yeah. Anyway, there's my little gripe for the day. And, yeah, Keith Pitt's trying to blow his trumpet, and it ain't going to get him anywhere. And to anybody, I noticed somebody was asking, I still don't know who the Labor candidate for Hinkler is as yet, but we will find out in due course, okay? Patience, people, patience. And it's driving me nuts as well. Meanwhile, the Labor candidate for Wide Bay, which is the neighbouring electorate, where I am now, which is Maryborough down to Noosa, is Jeff Williams, okay? And so he's going up against Lou O'Brien, who in the paper says he doesn't want the cashless debit card, but on the votes, he voted for it. Simple as that. You know what I mean? And, you know, this is what I mean. They say one thing in the paper and they do another thing in Parliament. Whereas I look at what that people are doing in Parliament, because that's where the laws go down. All right? Anybody can spout anything out here to the Murdoch press and they'll lap it all up without question. All right? But it's what goes on in the House of Reps and the Senate that people should be looking at all the time. Who's voting for what and why and how. Okay? And it's all available for people. All you need to do is Google Parliament Watch. And when Parliament's sitting, you can watch which house is sitting live. You can have it in a little box. You can still carry on doing your Facebook stuff, and you can have it in a little box. You know what I mean? And you can follow that sort of thing. And the same with the Senate inquiries when they come up. You can follow those live as well. So, okay, guys. Well, I just thought I'd let you know what's going on. And Keith Pitt, keep sprouting your rubbish, mate. No one believes you. Right? You lied to people when you promised it for 1 year. And you're still pushing it. You know, and that's it. They just keep lying too. 6 years down the track, Seduna's still on the card. East Kimberley's still on the card. Wyndham's still on the card. Right? 4 years down the track, Kalgoorlie, Laverton, Leonora, Menzies, Kambalda, Balder, all right, Coolgardie, all still on the card. And sneakily, lots of people have been put on the card for visiting card regions. Okay? I saw a comment today from somebody else that their daughter had visited Bundaberg and ended up stuck on the card. And she doesn't live in the card region. And I've directed that person as to who she can contact, because that's a breach of the legislation. All right? If you are visiting a card region and you are not a permanent resident of that region and you're only visiting, they can't put you on a cashless debit card or a basics card if you go to the Northern Territory. And that's in the legislation, that's the law. You're exempt. All right? But by God, they try hard. But unfortunately, they've tried hard in Western Australia, and they've got a lot of Aboriginal community people on the card that shouldn't be on the card just because they've had to visit Kalgoorlie. And they make it very, very difficult for people to get off. So, anyway, guys, have a good afternoon, and I'll talk to you guys later. weather's behaving itself up here at the moment. Who knows what's coming next? There's a forecast for bad weather tomorrow. We'll see. We're clear at the moment, sunshine, a few clouds, so. And hopefully things start to calm down south, and maybe the army might make it to the outskirts past Lismore. You never know, but I doubt it. The government's not exactly pulling their finger out. And on top of that, what's that? Ministers turned around and had a shot at people who live by the gum trees, and they're, oh, I don't know. I give up with this government. They blame everybody and they take no responsibility, and they destroy people's lives and they take no responsibility, and they think it's all cool and normal, and we don't. All right, guys. See ya. Bye.